Welcome to the From Concealment Podcast, the show for firearm enthusiasts who like to shoot, train, carry, and compete. Get ready for some shooting insight, firearm and accessory reviews, and of course, insight on concealed carry. And now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines in the From Concealment studio, it's Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams.
Hey, Freedom Nation, this is Pete Mitchell.
And I'm not yet schwacked.
You're not yet suicided?
That's right. Not yet. We'll see how
I would just like to state publicly that I am not now, nor have I ever been in my entire life, suicidal at all. I suffer from a great many things. That's not one of them.
Yeah.
So if I'm accused of killing myself, no, it is foul play, 100%.
Same here. Well, I personally think it's a sin to kill oneself. I'm fully against it. I am a joyful, happy person. I live in the joy of the Lord. I have no reason to harm
I'll say this. While I acknowledge it's a sin, I understand people who suffer from depression.
Oh, yeah.
I totally get that. And
not condemnation here, just acknowledging that like my personal beliefs are against it. And I'm happy, man. I have the joy of the Lord. I will not ever end my own life. So we're protected. Nice shirt, by the way.
Little liberty or death.
Yeah. And all the while, Mark Zuckerberg and Hillary Clinton are thinking like, we're going to try to make sure it's the latter.
Yes, they are, aren't they?
As which they did for our old buddy John McAfee, man. We need to catch up just everybody on what was happening.
Before we get into that, Dan, here's the thing, guys. Yeah. I was gone last week. I was literally in the mountains. I was a counselor at a summer camp. My son was at it. And we had, 6 boys in it was literally a covered wagon that we slept in. 2 of us counselors for our wagon, 250 kids there at the camp. No cell phone, no internet for a whole week, which was totally cool. Like, I hate my phone. I hate email. But, as you come down the mountain, all of a sudden your cell phone starts picking up the signal again, right? And the texts are flooding in. The messengers are flooding in. The memes are to die for. So I have not really watched any TV since I've been back. So I kind of need you to fill me in on the craziness that's been going on while I was out.
Yeah. So, and let's just acknowledge, anytime we're talking about John McAfee, we're talking about some crazy, wild stuff going on. Somebody mentioned, just to give a picture to everybody, somebody mentioned bumming a cigarette off of John McAfee at a libertarian convention a couple or 3 years ago. And their comment was, every minute of my life has been boring compared to those 15 minutes of discussion with John McAfee.
Really?
He's an interesting dude. And I will tell you, like, there's so much about that man that I disapproved of. But the dude was wild. He was clearly brilliant. If you guys understand, he was essentially the first one to come up with a commercial antivirus software and made crazy money on it, but has lots of controversy and weird things in his life and spends time with hookers. I think married one of the prostitutes that he was with, if I'm understanding correctly. Supposedly she was threatening to kill him because of leverage somebody that had on him. Like, he has the wildest story, and he's one of those guys that, like, whatever you think of him, he's interesting. One thing we can have a high respect for, though, is he really cared about liberty and talked about it often, had a pretty consistent language about libertarianism. And so we can give him some respect for that. But man, the cops hated him. So our government hated him. And so there's several different things going on. I'm not sure which thing they've been trying to arrest him for. I honestly have lost track. I mean it. But a while back, he gets arrested for something related to tax evasion in Spain. My understanding is he's been in a Spanish prison, and he was constantly tweeting things like, "Hey, I'm happy here. I've got good people around me." I was pretty optimistic, I think, about getting out. But he was making a lot of comments about, "I am getting threats from the American government about what they're going to do to me. And so he was just making comments, like information was going online saying like, hey, this is happening. And so he even got a tattoo that said schwacked with a $sign for the S to essentially indicate. And he said, if anything happens to me, it will not be me. I am a happy man. I'm doing all right. And actually, I just watched a video of his wife saying, she's like, I spoke to him a couple of hours before they found his body. We were making plans for him getting out. We were happy. We were concerned about the extradition, but because there was an agreement from Spain to the United States for him to be extradited back to the U.S. to face charges. But we're talking about tax evasion charges. We're not talking about like end of the world stuff. You know, like this is not like he's not facing treason charges. Like it seemed, I mean, as far as multi-million-dollar guys go, like this is relatively benign. So all that said, he gets found dead of a quote unquote apparent suicide in his cell. And I'm just saying foul play all along. It just does not look like he killed himself. So one thing we do have to acknowledge, because John McAfee is one of the wildest creatures ever known to humanity. If there was somebody that was going to say, hey, they're going to try to kill me, and make it look like a suicide and would then kill themselves, he's the kind of guy that would do that,
right?
Just to make a crazy good story out of it. So I will acknowledge that. But we also know, like, people didn't like him, and people were after him, and it's this. I think the more logical scenario is that he was suicided, a la Clinton style. So anyway, that's kind of the lowdown. Is that a good catch up, Pete? Any thoughts?
It is. But I also want to hear about Biden's comments, because all I saw were the memes when the internet hit my phone again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what did that idiot say this time?
Yeah. So one last thing on the McAfee situation, we need to acknowledge. He had said that he had effectively a dead man switch set to begin sending out incriminating files to key people if he ended up dead. Now, anybody's familiar with dead man switch type things, and a lot of us have it for like our email. Or like if we don't log into our email after a certain amount of time, it assumes we're dead and it gives our access to somebody else, or it does something. Like there's things you can do with that. So we don't know when the dead man switch kicks in or how all that works with him. We don't know. But just an acknowledgement that supposedly he has incriminating information that's going to be going out. And I have heard reports that people have been getting information from servers that were connected to McAfee. The thing is, nobody cares except us. You know what? I think of like all the things Snowden exposed. Nobody cares. All the things about Epstein and all of his connections. Nobody does jack about it. And so I'm sure he had some incriminating stuff. Like the guy who can hack into just about everything and knows virus security better than anybody. I'm sure he had incriminating stuff. It's probably already been sent out. Probably nothing more.
I don't know. I think they would have waited till they could stop that and then suicide him.
Well, that did cross my mind. That why suicide him if you know stuff's going to happen? Right. And we should acknowledge there was a rumor that the building that collapsed in Miami had housed some of his servers. I haven't found anything legitimizing that. Like that just sounds like some kook made some comment on the internet. There's nothing seems to be legitimizing that.
What happened with that building?
It's weird. Like that's a whole other, I don't know, but that's weird. No matter how you cut it, that's weird. I mean, it was like building 7 coming down, man. People are missing. I have questions about that, but I can't link it to the McAfee thing. Weird stuff. So yeah, Pete, you missed so much crazy stuff.
We've got to 1 week. 1 week I'm gone.
I know. Well, then we got to talk about the crazy Biden stuff.
What did he say?
So I'm not going to give exact quote. So see, this is paraphrasing, but essentially was mocking the idea of people overthrowing the United States government or even really defending themselves against the government And he says, well, you need, F-15s and nukes and whatever, which, by the way, is very clearly he was threatening to nuke American citizens. Like, think about that. And my understanding is he's made comments like this twice now. So this is our president making comments about nuking American citizens. So all the memes were beautiful because it was like, I need an F-15.
Well, if ever there was a comment by a president that perfectly encapsulated why we have the Second Amendment,
exactly right.
It was that one right there.
Yeah.
And if ever there was a comment that proved all of the gun laws are unconstitutional, it was that one right there.
Right there.
We need to have F-15s. We need to have nukes.
One of my favorite
especially
memes,
nukes.
Especially nukes. Yes.
Have you seen that dog one where it's like, what about nukes? And it goes in closer and closer and closer, and the dog just got this little look and he's like, especially nukes.
Especially nukes. One of my favorite memes is like, the left comments that you can't overthrow the government unless you have F-15s and nukes, but also the left, unarmed old people storming the I
know.
Somehow counts as nearly overthrowing the government. And I'm like, you want to talk about like that right there? That is doublespeak. I mean, that's doublespeak in action. That's using fear and terror to whip up one emotion on this side and then saying the exact opposite on the other side. And the reality is either AR-15s and AK-47s are useful for defense against tyranny and the overthrow of tyranny, or they're not. And if they're not, then why are you even worried? And if they are, then maybe you should be worried, but you better not be trying to take them away because that's when we want to use them. And simple as that. And I love all the memes that's, it takes the Biden quote and then it's a picture of a Vietnamese guy and it just says laughs in Viet Cong. Or the Afghan with the AK-47. Like, I think people don't understand what they want is to be able to enslave a tax base. And I recognize it gets more complicated than that, but that's what tyrants want, is control of the masses. It is not behooving for them to nuke everybody and everything. Not to say they won't ever do it, but that doesn't allow them to come to their goal. What they want is to scare you. So comments about nuking citizens certainly serve their purposes, but they want to scare you into submission. And I always remind them, citizens we outnumber in forces of tyranny by like 5,000 to 1. Man, talk to anybody that was in Afghanistan or in Iraq, and they'll say, yeah, we didn't want to go on patrols. We were finding reasons to not do that kind of stuff because insurgents make it hell for occupying forces.
Absolutely.
And that's everybody like, you don't have to be an expert marksman. You don't even have to be an operator. You can make it hell for people. Like, think about like what children.
Well, it's because we outnumber them.
We outnumber them, and it's like Viet Cong style. Like, they don't know who's with them and who's not.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So like the lady wearing a dress that has a submachine gun underneath it.
I don't know anyone who has an American flag with a blue stripe in the middle of it. That's someone who's on their side.
Probably for them.
I just like to throw that one out there. They have their own banner.
Talk about a false flag opportunity, man. Like, be flying the thin blue line as you walk up and then like switch that flag out for an appeal to heaven sign or a don't tread on me flag.
I think a don't tread on me flag would be perfect.
Yeah. Well, do you know about the appeal to heaven flags? They're less popular. So appeal to heaven I think it was Washington's army was using, and it's just a pine tree or whatever. It's a spruce or something, right? An evergreen. And it just says an appeal to heaven. And it's an argument related to the doctrine of lesser magistrates, where after we've appealed to the magistrates to protect us against tyranny, when all of those appeals have failed, then the last thing we have is an appeal to heaven. And we're essentially saying, God, we want to obey your law. The tyrants are trying to enforce tyranny. And so we've got nobody else to appeal to. We're appealing to you, Lord. And then we're standing in obedience to you rather than tyrants.
I think now is an appropriate time to show off your shirt.
Oh, yes. So this is my Father's Day present. I also have a sticker with the same logo It, of course, says, obey God, defy tyrants, cites Acts 5:29. Acts 5:29 is where the apostles are arrested for preaching the gospel. And the chief priests are like, didn't we tell you not to do that? And they're like, yeah, but we have to obey God rather than men. Actually on this is great. Always worth pointing out. I know we've mentioned this before. Romans 13 talks about, hey, we are absolutely to obey rulers in so much as they are in obedience to God. Once they step outside of their role to apply God's law, bets are off, man. So I've been reading Magdeburg Confession, highly recommend. If you guys are not familiar, these were Protestant Lutherans who stood against Emperor Charles V, the only town that stood after everybody else had fallen. And they essentially said, suck it to the Pope and to the Emperor, and said, this is what we're going to do. Beautiful. Highly recommend it. You guys need to be educating yourselves theologically on the doctrine of the lesser magistrates and when defense against tyranny is essential. And by the way, essential, not just you can disobey, but you must in certain circumstances. So anyway, more on that later. But yeah, it's my new shirt. I'm excited about it. Fits great. Got it from Reformed Sage. So check out Reformed Sage. Great stuff there. What's really great is the comments underneath this shirt when you look at their social media, because people are like, what? I can't believe. What are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, it's biblical, man. Anyway, I don't know.
Love it.
Did we miss anything else on catching you up, Pete? We talked about.
I don't know. I have no idea if I'm missing anything else. I love Cowboy's comment on the Facebook feed. Schrodinger's gun. These are military style weapons of war, but it's not enough, and you need a nuke to fight back. I remember that meme beautiful. I saw.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Schrodinger's talking about, it was like, if you put a cat in a box, is it dead or alive? And it has to be both simultaneously. It's like a philosophical thing, and so that's basically what the military gun is, or the AR. They're saying.
So one of my favorite memes is it's a picture of guys in an F-15. Clearly, like, this dude is not a military fit man. He's got like an old school dad mustache, and it just says, "Me and the boys leaving the gun shop after picking up our F-15s and nukes."
I heard it's actually a new thing you can put on your AR-15. You can affix a nice little F-15 right on the bottom.
That's right. I don't know if you saw Hoplite Armor put out a discount code. The discount code was Biden is gay for 10% off all items. Man, so many things went on. Do you know about the Loudoun County, the whole thing in Loudoun County, Virginia?
Not at all. I didn't hear about it at all.
School boards wanting to teach pretty vulgar stuff related to sexual ethics and things like that, like things that would be considered sexual abuse, right? That, like, I mean, there's certain things, exposure to children, pornography exposure to children, expletive content, all that is considered, child abuse. And yet some of this stuff has been built in. It's critical theory and some other things, some sexually explicit stuff has been built into the curriculum. Parents are speaking out against it, and they're getting silenced at the board meetings. Police came in and arrested people, and they're saying, like, I'm not doing anything. I have a right to peaceable assembly. I'm here. And it was pretty bad. So worth checking out what's happening in Loudoun County. I have friends there. That's right on the suburb of DC, by the way. A lot of people who work in DC. Loudoun County is like one of the wealthiest counties in our country. Worth paying attention to what's going on there, because effectively the people who work in and for our government live there. And you have a massive leftist takeover of the school board right there. And they are absolutely, I mean, you see the picture, they're absolutely using law enforcement to silence free speech. That was another one worth checking out. Oh man, you missed so much, Pete. I'm sorry. You missed it. Have you been able to get on and see all the awesome memes on the From Concealment Telegram feed?
I did. I that was the first thing I did on Saturday.
The Happy Father's Day to the guy who killed the person who and it's like the moment he's about to kill the guy. I don't know if you all know about that story. That got posted on Father's Day. I thought that was a brilliant one. Happy Father's Day to all the real men out there. Yeah, beautiful stuff. Good stuff. Great things happening on that feed, by the way. I'm just getting some highlights in there because
The government of West Taiwan hates this map.
Yes.
West Taiwan. That's just the
West
best.
Taiwan. Oh, I love it. Yep. So many good things. The trans vaxite was a good one. Like I identify as vaccinated. Oh, so many beautiful things, man.
Well, that's kind of the funny thing. I got a family member who works at a grocery store here in California. For our drinking friends, I know it's been you've been parched. I had to use the term so that way you can drink. And she is very much into masks, vaccinations, the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
And we just went semi-free on the 15th of June, right? So just first time in 15 months, whatever it's been. And so now, in theory, we can walk into a store without a mask so long as we're vaccinated. And this family member was saying, I know this lady's not vaccinated. And how dare she walk in here without a mask on? And I'm like, but you are vaccinated. So what do you care?
Yeah.
Unless the vaccination doesn't work, then maybe you do care.
Yep.
I'm just like, it's ridiculous. And now the CDC is going, well, when kids get the shot, they might have some heart problems. Now, it's very rare. I'm thinking, yeah, but kids are not in any danger of COVID. So why would I knowingly put them in danger when they're not in danger? Yeah. And I'm telling you, they're going to make it mandatory in order to go to school.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty close to that on other vaccines as well. And it's shady business, man.
They are that way on other vaccines in our state.
Yeah. That's one of the many reasons why we're homeschooled. And I'm not anti-vaccination. Like, vaccines are a wonderful invention. It's super shady how many of these we're pumping into kids in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And the fact is your immunity is lowered when you take a vaccination, and you pump a bunch of them in there, things get a little tricky. And so, anyway, what a time, man. So I'm trying to think I think that catches you up for the most part. There's all kinds of bonkers stuff going on. I quit keeping track of all of it because at some point it's like, this is just stupid.
Yeah, it was weird for me being at that summer camp last week because that was the longest I'd ever been in public without carrying a gun.
Yeah.
Because they have a rule. It's not obviously a legal rule, but they have a no gun rule. And I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, but what happens? Even though I got a travel safe, right, that I always take with me when I go somewhere with my kids. It's like, yeah, but if one of the parents found out, oh, one of the counselors had a gun in the wagon, like, I don't even want to deal with it.
I know.
So I didn't have my firearm. It was funny because my co-counselor, he's like, I just assumed you were going to bring it. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to take that risk with parents and all that. So I did take my tactical pen that you told us about all those months and months ago on the show. Yeah. I took that, and I took my switchblade, and so I had other stuff if need be, but no firearm.
Yeah. You take what you can, but man, it is weird too how many people assume I'm carrying in places where I'm either not legally permitted to or where it is frowned upon. And I'm like, you know what? You people need to decide. Do you want me to do what I'm supposed to do or not? No, I'm not acknowledging one way or the other whether I carry or not in some of those places. But it's funny how they're like, oh, you're carrying now, aren't you? And I'm like, your son tells me not to. Not going to say anything, sucker.
Right.
So anyway, that's
what I always find funny is when I'm carrying my Glock 19 now, as opposed to 120 pounds ago when I was a lot bigger. It's like that handle sticks out so bad. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a cell phone. Maybe I got a cell phone on my belt. Maybe I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
Just like it sticks out, but I'm like, whatever. Deal with it.
Yep. So
it's covered. It's concealed.
Speaking of concealed firearms, I have a product review if you're interested.
Oh, yes, let's hear it.
So I've been talking about getting a micro Roni. I might still eventually get a micro Roni, but I managed to get my hands on a Fab Defense stabilizer. Anybody familiar? I know a few people are familiar with Fab Defense. They make a lot of different modifications for guns, including like the you guys know the stock that will come out from like where it looks like a regular Glock, and you push a little button and the stock comes out, and you've got a.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's a really minimalist kind of thing, but
does that make it an NFA item?
I'm pretty sure it probably does.
Because I know someone made one that's really cool. That's for a Glock that literally doesn't attach to the handle. So it's when you hold it, it's a stock. But because it doesn't physically attach, it's not an NFA item.
Oh, it's brilliant. Well, speaking of such things, I'm gonna give a quick review on this Fab Defense. So first of all, comes in a really nice sling backpack, and when I say really nice, like this is a nice little range bag and super high quality. Like every little piece on this, like things like the attachments are covered so they don't jingle, mag pouches, things like that, and super heavy duty. Like this is a really high quality bag, but that's not why we get it. This thing designed much like you would. I don't have a Glock to put in it right now, but much like a micro where you can stick your Glock up in here. Although the charging handle is like AR style, flip up sights, but Picatinny rail. So just like in a micro, I could add an RMR or RMR style red dot, whatever you like. And really neat little system how it, I'm not going to be able to do it one-handed on here, but, Glock goes up in there, closes shut, latches in good, little front end, that also serves as a mag holder, as I understand. This one has a little thing for a, light on the front, just clamps in, but, and the Velcro single point sling, not Velcro, but elastic. So I, little side note, this is not a gun. So, easily, travels even internationally. Not that I would know anything about that, but just, I happen to know for a fact that you can put this in a checked bag and travel internationally with it. Wonderful thing. Anyway, had it out to the range.
I would also recommend you check the country you're traveling to, their laws.
Yes. Or from.
Because to the United States, you might be clear, but going to another country, you're going to be held accountable to their laws.
Yeah, they're going to want to know what's going on. Interestingly enough, it can be a little bit easier to bring something like this, not that I would know, but back from another country, as opposed to taking it to another country. No problem. I recommend wrapping it in, say, a hammock with some coffee. So that the dogs don't smell the gunpowder.
So the dogs don't smell it. That's hilarious.
I mean, I don't know anything about this. This is totally hypothetical in Minecraft, but if you were going to try it, that's how you should do it. Anyway, so loved it. I got it out to the range. Managed to put a Glock 19X in it, I believe is what I had in it. And was it a 19 or 17? I'm not remembering now which one was in there. But it ran like a dream, did really, really well. And to be able to make a nice little stabilizer for home defense, great way. Or for man, talk about a trunk gun. What a nice little way to carry a trunk gun. And folds up well, highly recommend it. Well, I was really impressed. So I haven't had the chance to fire the Micro Roni alongside a Fab Defense to really get a good comparison. When I did fire the Micro, I had a Holosun red dot, the RMR style red dot on it, and it was like a dream. This one I've just had flip up peep sights on it, but still did great. And so I'd love to do a true comparison between the two of them, see which one really stands out.
What's it going for? What's the retail on it?
You know what? I want to say it's like $300, but
about the same as the Micro Roni.
Yeah, but you know what? I haven't looked lately. So it's a Fab Defense stabilizer. Sorry, there's someone yelling in the background. Yeah, I'm not sure what they're running for. And I'm not finding this one yet. I'll have to get on and fiddle around later and see. But I want to say I saw them for right around the $300, $400 range. So not bad. Good stuff. But that was my product review. Get that and a copy of the Mogsburg Confession, and you are in good shape. Put an Austrian firearm right next to a German book on theology and biblical resistance of tyranny. That's a wonderful connection right there.
Right.
So, yeah, man. So anything else we should talk about, man? There's so much happened. I feel like I missed being able to process it in real time.
I feel almost like ashamed that this is what we've allowed our country to come to, specifically with Biden. Like, that's the thing that just bums me out the most. And I was talking with a buddy of mine this last week. We were talking about, and anyone, I'll tell them I hate California. I hate the state. And I hate the state not just because of the politics. Like, the politics are literally a representation of the people. The people are okay with these idiots. They love these idiots. They praise these idiots. They think that these idiots that literally put them out of work and close down their companies are somehow, heroes. And it's like, there's something wrong with you to think that. And even, my own folks, we had so many discussions on Facebook about, people are getting sick and they're dying. We have to stay home. I'm like, well, then stay home. What does that have to do with me? If you're at home, then you can't get it.
Yeah.
Why can't I be free?
Exactly right.
You have no right to in any way, put me in jail because you're afraid. I'm not afraid. Now, this isn't Ebola. If this was Ebola, totally different situation. 98% kill rate. Okay, look, I'm going to think differently on that. But literally reverse.
Say, though, even in that, the principle applies that we quarantine the sick, not the healthy. Right. Like, even in that situation, and I would say even in this situation, that it is right for a sick person to be quarantined. That's a biblical concept. It's a good thing. It is never okay to quarantine a healthy person. And so I think you can make a case for, oh man, this person's been exposed or whatever, and so you quarantine out of safety. No problem. I'm good with that. But that is not at all what we did. And in fact, what we're seeing is in some places, man, they're locking down even harder when the danger of the virus is past. Like the stuff going on in Alberta, Canada.
It's crazy.
Insanity. And that is absolutely, there is an effort to stamp out freedom there. Like, we're past virus there. This is all about control and tyranny.
Yeah, this is all about you do what we tell you to do, or we're sending you to jail.
Yeah. Oh, and you see where there are pastors that are getting
arrested
9 years, 6 years, millions of dollars in fines. And then there's misinformation. What's really interesting to me is the misinformation out there. And it's a mess. So that's and of course in California, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, true. In California too, so to some degree, but in Canada, man, they are so strict on the gun laws, and they've just capitulated to the point where, like, man, if they wanted to rise up, what are they going to do?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Come down to America, get some guns down here.
Yeah.
Go back. Because apparently all you got to do is go to Chicago. You can get all the guns you want there.
Yeah. Or become a drug cartel. I mean, that's how you get the United States.
Well, then the government just gives them to you. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it goes. Oh, yeah. It's infuriating. I think for me now, I'm in this situation with so many things where plain facts and basic information is out there about things, and yet people keep swallowing the lie. And then when the lie cannot be withheld, held up anymore, people just seem to say, well, yeah, but I prefer it this way. And I'm like, you're absolutely in mental slavery and seeking to enslave others. And I think you used the word earlier. I'm ashamed of our country. And so hoping to see.
Well, look at they're using this Delta variant and trying to scare everyone again. Oh, the Delta variant's going after kids now. And it's like, well, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just shut up.
No.
You are the government that cried wolf.
Yeah.
You just are.
And if you're scared of somebody going after kids, then we should be scared of our own freaking president. Like you weren't scared when he was sniffing children and when he was talking about some 7-year-old's girl's legs looking good. Like that fool needs to be thrown off of a building. Like this is insane. In Minecraft, hypothetically, for the sake of entertainment. Right. But it's insanity. Like what is being allowed. And then the things that, it makes me think of when scripture says, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. And that's where we're at, man.
Yeah.
That is where we're at. Yeah. So anyway, stay strapped or get clapped, boys and girls. It's getting to be serious there.
It is. Why don't you give Lake Erie their plug?
Yeah, big plug for Lake Erie Arms. I will say, you guys, Lake Erie Arms is running a Smith & Wesson sale from now to the 4th of July. We're closing the 4th of July. Great time to get out there. And we've got a few exciting events coming up, including a kids shooting event where we're going to feature a lot of rimfire rifles, some gun safety stuff. And so if you got kids that are not into shooting yet, or maybe they are, get them out to that event. That's coming up here in July. Anyway, in any case, check out learms.net. We got so much good stuff going on. Oh, and one last thing. We actually have a wonderful stock of ARs. I know a lot of places can't seem to get ARs. We have plenty. In fact, we're still a little bit overstocked on ARs. If you don't have a fighting weapon yet, if you don't have an AR-15, or even if you do and you need to fit out the rest of the family, you need to get down there and get an AR-15 right now because we have them at rock bottom prices. So get onto the store in Huron, Ohio, or check out learms.net, and we will see you there.
Cool. All right, guys, we'll be back next week. I promise we'll be back next week. We'll talk to you then. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to the From Concealment Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Dan Sams. Be sure to tune in next week for more gun talk. Also, check out the From Concealment website for more shooting-related goodness at FromConcealment.com.